Good morning, everyone. Actually, no, it's not morning where you guys are probably. It's probably evening or afternoon. I think most of you guys are in America. Excuse me while I just adjust some things here. All right, I'm pretty sure that I'm live. I will see, no doubt, some comments popping up at some stage soon because it's always a little bit behind there. And yeah, I just wanted to do a live again today so I remember how to do them, but also because I wanted to talk about the Lady series, which hasn't got a lot of love over the last year or two because, um, well, for a start, it's not one of my more popular series. So when I write it, I largely write it for myself. Or no, not even that. The people who really love it, but there aren't as many people who love it as who love, say, the Between series. So when I write, I prioritize the ones that are more popular with people, and the ones that aren't as popular, I still write them because I love writing them, obviously, but they just happen less often. So Lady series, the last one was published probably about 2 years ago. That was Lady of Weeds. So yeah, so I'm gonna talk about the plans for that, but also specifically the, um, the inspirations for each of the books, the kind of K-dramas that inspired them, the specific ones that I did callbacks to in those books, and also maybe just discuss a little bit about why K-drama is good as well as why it's bad, and also just exactly how you can work that into your writing if you're a writer, or just, I guess, how you can enjoy it if you're a reader. You don't really have to know about it if you're a reader, but for me, um, watching K dramas was actually very, very useful um, to learning how to do certain things that I hadn't actually done before. So, yeah, it was really useful for me. But first of all, this is got nothing to do with the subject of the video, but I was out last week doing shooting Polaroids. You guys know I like to do photography. It's an actual hobby of mine now, so that's nice. Um, and yeah, I took a lot of Polaroids because some of them are for prizes for the fan art competition, which I'm very slowly going around collecting winners' information to send those to them. But I managed to get some I was really happy with, so I'll probably show them to you. As we go through the live, as usual, if you have something to say or a question to ask, just pop it in the chat. It takes, I think, like 30 seconds to a minute for it to pop up for me. So if I'm a little bit slow getting to it, it's just that the system doesn't like me to be able to do things easily and just makes me wait. So I can see there's a few people in here now. Hi to Kaylee, who's excited that I'm going live. I'm excited too. You just can't tell because of the lack of sleep. So yeah, I'm just a little bit weird in the head today as usual, so, not much difference. And hello to Kendra and to everyone else who's here. Yeah, so Polaroids. I was gonna show you some Polaroids. Um, this is one of the streets near the bao bun shop where, Pet and Jin Yong regularly get their bao buns and then eat most of them on the way home. Um, this one is the Hanging Gardens, and you can't see it from the outside um, bit of it, but those hanging plants, they're just a taste of the gardens and the greenery that's on the inside. And outside it, while it was under construction, it had lots and lots of graffiti, as you can see there. And so it had this really nice composition, in my opinion. So I really enjoyed the juxtaposition of the plants coming down and then the graffiti down below. Oh, this, by the way, this is the house that inspired Pet's house. There are lots of similar ones in North Hobart, very, very similar ones, two-story, narrow, sometimes with a facade in the front and sometimes not. But this one in particular was one of the ones that inspired Pet's house. So I took a photo of that, and it will be obviously going out to one of the fan art winners. Yeah, it's one of my favorite photos. I really liked the sepia. This is just outside one of the local cafes I like to go to. I like the colors that they have there. It makes me very happy. And this one is one of the really older shops in sandstone that are around Hobart. So, yeah, I know, I just like the look of it, so I took a photo of it and it turned out well. Oh, B Foreman's asking to see it again. I assume the Pet's House one, so that's the one I'll show you. You can't see much of it because of the giant tree in front of it. I also took a photo of the side of it, so you'll get to see that as well. Um, but yes, it's there are lots of houses like that, and some of them are properly joined up. But yeah, that's just one that I really enjoyed. This one's a little bit harder to see. This is some of the almost living graffiti you can see everywhere around Hobart. If you duck into some of the alleys, there are lots of little areas that are literally just covered with graffiti, and it changes almost weekly as far as I can tell. It's where I got the idea of living graffiti from, but this little fella's peeking out over the top of a wheelie bin and just between a wall and a scooter, and I just really liked the colours and the composition of it. I was up in North Hobart one day, just walking down a random street, and there's just all this greenery poking through someone's fence, which I really, really liked. So obviously I took a picture and now it's a Polaroid. So got a couple more. This one, is just above and behind the place where Pet meets with Abigail in their little place that's hidden behind a wall. This is in the Wellington just beside the Wellington Arcade before you get to Elizabeth Street Mall, and it runs parallel with the Elizabeth Street Mall. So this is where Abigail and her friends used to hang out. This one's one of the bigger Polaroids. I was using my very ancient camera. It's from the 70s. It has a little bit of problem with overexposing things, but you can still see stuff. The thing I was trying to capture with this one was behind this very stately house, um, along the building line there, the city line. There's lots of old, very castle looking things. Unfortunately, because of the lack of saturation and the overexposure, I couldn't capture that as well as I wanted, but it's still a cool photograph, so I kept that one. Here's the side of Pet's house, which has been very graffitied and sort of covered up. Obviously, it doesn't have the same sort of hidden room as Pet's house has, but it's exactly the same sort of style. And of course, I went with sepia for that one as well. It just, I don't know, it seemed to work, so I liked that. And here's a bigger one of Abigail and Co's hiding place in town. We got a last couple, one of the bigger ones. This is up near North Hobart, in far North Hobart, very near to Calby actually, and also very near to where Pet and Jin took refuge after after Zero nearly killed Jin. So yeah. And last but not least, this is just a little cafe I like to stop into from time to time. The alleyway you can see out there with the very cool graffiti is actually another entrance into the hanging garden, and as you can see, little vines are just curling up and around there. So yeah, it was quite a successful trip. I thought I enjoyed doing that. I did go out later to Signet, and I took no, it wasn't Signet, it was Franklin, and took a lot more photos, but those ones aren't really city between type photos, so I didn't bring them along to show. I'll go through and answer some questions. Kaylee says, "Hope you don't mind a city between question. In the city between, why did Atlas?" Oh, this goes into spoilers, by the way. If you haven't read the books, then you should possibly look away now, or not look away, just stop listening for a while. Why did Athalas betray the Troika and act like he didn't care about them even though he did? With Athalas, if you care about someone from his entire upbringing and onward, If you care about someone, that someone automatically becomes a weapon against you, either a weapon against you or something that you have to kill to prove that you are loyal. So if he's if he's with them while pretending to help them and pretending to be with them, they are safe because he's not technically with them. He doesn't technically care for them. He's just with them for the purposes of betrayal, as he was pretending to be to Zero's father. But if he actually cares about them, if he's actually working with them, then that's an automatic death sentence to them. And in Athelus's case, it's probably a death sentence that he's going to have to be the one to carry out. So in his twisted little mind, I guess this is his form of love, which is, I think, exactly what you'd expect of Athelus, that betrayal is a form of love for him. So he needs a lot of untwisting, which is exactly why he gets his own series. Oh, it looks like you guys are enjoying the pictures. I'm glad. B Foreman's asking, will you make notes on the photos you send? Yes, I will. I'll make a brief little note about where it comes from, like a really tiny note, because as you can see, like there's not too much space there, and I've got to find the right kind of pen that won't just rub away. For the bigger ones, I'll also do a little scribble signature, and that'll be about it. Right, now that I have done that, I'm going to, yeah, start talking about the Lady series. If you have any questions or just comments about the Lady series, whether it's Lady of Dreams or Lady of Weeds, or even if you're curious about the upcoming Lady of Ink, just pop them in the comments and I will get on to them. I'm never entirely sure if I'm seeing all the comments because for some reason, yeah, like I said, they come through slowly, and then sometimes they don't show me that I need to be scrolling down because there's no scroll bar, but actually I do need to be scrolling down. And basically I'm just a dinosaur, so yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, so when I first started writing the Lady series, I started with Lady of Dreams, and at that point, I wasn't planning on writing an actual series. It was just I wrote it because a character I really loved was not given a happy ending in one of the shows I watched, and I wanted to write him a happy ending because I thought it mostly because I thought that the way things were left was quite bad writing, and also it irritated me that in the type of K-drama I was riffing off in this particular book, that first of all, I should explain what type of K-drama it is, because then you'll understand my irritations, with this particular ending and why I did what I did with it. So there are multiple different kinds of K-dramas. They all follow their tropes pretty closely. Some of them are outstanding in the way that they do them, but there's a bog standard level of tropes that belong to each one, and the shows that are just sort of basic and boring just do all the tropes, and they don't really play with them, they just do them because they're popular. So there are what I call the flower garden type of dramas, which is exactly what Lady of Dreams is riffing off of. There are Nuna romances where the female is the older person in the relationship. There's the saving your company drama, and there's company infiltration drama, which is pretty close. And then there's your revenge drama or your I suppose you could say soap opera drama, because technically speaking, Penthouse is very soap opera, but it's also the same kind of drama as Mask is, and Mask is not exactly soap opera, it's more conspiracy drama, I guess you'd say. These are not necessarily names that everyone uses. These are the names I use because they make sense in my head. So the type that we're riffing off of in Lady of Dreams is the Flower Garden drama, which is when you have your main protagonist, whether male or female, but in this trope, it is usually a female, and she is surrounded by 3 to 6 men, all of whom will fall in love with her. Um, I really hate it in general. Reason being, if you're one of those men and it's one of these dramas, because it's not reverse harem, only one man will get the girl and the rest will be, like, devastated. They in a flower garden, drama too, most of the time, those competing men will not get a happily ever after because your main female lead is apparently so wonderful and so heartbreaking that they will just never be happy unless they have her. So they're just left in limbo with broken hearts and never able to be happy again, which is something I really dislike and really disagree with on a fundamental level. So basically, in one of the first K dramas I watched, along with a couple other, there were 3 to 4 young men, and they would all fall in love with the main girl, and while you would think 1 or 2 of them were young enough to get over it, they'd have the one main, rival to the actual bloke who wins out in the end, and that one is always has always got to be sad at the end and defeated at the end and never loving again. And that really made me unhappy. That was the thing that made me so unhappy with this particular drama that actually did a lot of other things really well. And so I was like, but even if he'd got together with this girl, for me, for the way they wrote him, it wouldn't have been a happy ending for him because of the kind of character he was. So because I saw that, and because I saw the way that I could use these tropes in a way that made not necessarily made more sense to me, but would make me happier, as in I like to throw things in the air and have chaos. Um, I was like, "Well, I will write this story and I will write the happy ending that I would have written for a character like this, in my own story." And so as I did it, you guys know I love to put Easter eggs into my stories. In fact, 2 or 3 of you have noticed these Easter eggs, which made me very, very happy. Um, and I tend to put callbacks there. So in Lady of Weeds, there are some callbacks to a couple of dramas that inspired that book as well. And so in Lady of Dreams, um, the one thing that was an especial callback was the scene with the bull, because in the particular drama that irritated me so that wrote an entire book, um, one of the main characters gets stuck with, I think it is a wild pig, because he's being weird in a field, just sort of wafting off on the sense of his own importance. And there's a wild pig in that field. I'm pretty sure it was a wild pig. Anyway, I put that little Easter egg in there because I knew that amongst my readers there would be enough people who had seen that particular drama as well as others in the flower garden sort of um, drama pool who would get that reference. So that was for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, it was a it's a type of drama I don't actually enjoy that much apart from the good things that were done in that. There's a lot to not like about this particular about this particular genre of dramas, but I know it's also a very popular type, so I was hoping there'd be a bit of crossover with the readership. So, uh, oh, B Foreman's also asking. Oh no, we I saw that already. Sorry, I read that question. Kaylee says, "Thanks for writing, and that I've also inspired them to start writing their own book series." That's good. I love to inspire people to write their own series. At least half of my books that I've written have been inspired, usually by annoyance, but also sometimes just by something that's so genuinely good that it sparks another idea in me. So if I'm inspiring someone else, hooray, that's great. Um, so with Lady of Weeds, it was a different type of drama, obviously, that I was playing with, and that type, as I mentioned earlier, is the Nuna drama. There are a couple of really good Nuna dramas out there. Um, there are just not very many of them, unfortunately. So the idea of the Nuna drama, in fact, I've mentioned this, I think, in on my blog and also in one of the lives, maybe not lives. It was, I think, in one of the videos where I was talking about tropes that I like and tropes that I hate. And yeah, so Nuno romance, the idea of it quite often is that the power imbalance that often exists. So basically, in Korean dramas, it's very rare that you will find any kind of woman being in a position of power. So, South Korea is deeply conservative as far as I've been able to see, and that conservatism ranges anywhere from outright disgusting misogyny to just a benevolent sort of still misogyny. If you're labeled as a feminist in South Korea, as far as I've seen, it's actually a slur. It's not a thing of where you can be a reasonable person and a feminist, or you can be bringing issues to light. If you're called a feminist, it's a slur. That makes me extremely unhappy because, like I said, in art reflects life, and in dramas, you will extremely rarely, like very, very rarely find a female in a position of power, especially one who is in a position of power above the male lead. It's just not allowed. And if it is allowed, the K drama will go to extreme lengths to humiliate the woman in the eyes of the male lead. She has to be humiliated. Every single K-drama that has started with a woman in a position of authority above the male lead. Excuse me taking off my jacket. This makes me annoyed, and so I'm getting hot. So so basically, she has to be humiliated in the eyes of everyone around and in the eyes of the male lead before she can be considered as a potential match for him. So there I can think of only 1 or 2 K-dramas where this doesn't happen when the female lead is the one in the position of power. One, the English title is Ms. Temper and Namgung-gil or something like that. I love that K-drama. It reverses absolutely everything about the stereotypical, company lead male, um, just being a horrible person and then being taught better. It just watch it. It's an amazing drama. I really love it. So there's that thing about K-dramas, and with art reflecting life, it does very much come off in K-dramas, the lack of respect toward women, the lack of considering them as equal with men or as people in their own right. So the female lead, usually her part in the drama, usually her main motivation or her end is to be in love with the man and to fix him. So there is no higher goal for a woman in most K-dramas than to get with the man, to fix him, or to be happy with a man. That is basically your job as a female in a K-drama. Not always. There are really good standout ones out there. The My Name drama I really loved for this exact well, not for that exact reason. It was just one of the reasons I loved it. Do be aware it's also very violent and very sad. I still loved it. I thought it was amazing. So when it comes to K-dramas, the Nuna drama is supposed to be a reversal of that. It's supposed to be a place where the woman who has so much less power socially and in the minds of everyone around them actually is older, because obviously in Korea, as in with a few other Asian countries, the older you are, the more power you have, the more standing in society you have. So in that case, if the woman is older, it resets that power balance and means that the male lead has to take her seriously. He can't just dismiss her and mistreat her. He has to take her seriously because she's older than him. And so that power imbalance is fixed, or at least when the Nuna drama is well done, it's fixed. Unfortunately, the Nuna drama doesn't always do that. In the really irritating ones, in the bad ones, it just takes it being an older woman with a younger man and then is like, yeah, but as soon as they get together, she does everything he says and he browbeats her and calls her names and treats her like a child, just the same as most of the other male leads in dramas do. And to my mind, they've missed the entire point of the Nuna drama, which is to give women an actual sense of worth and of some power in the relationship. And I know when you go into a relationship considering who has the power, that's unhealthy. But if there's already such a power imbalance embedded in the minds of the people who are going into that relationship, there needs to be that conscious resetting of power values. And that's what the Nuna drama does. It's also why I chose to do Lady of Weeds in the way that I did it, because I wanted that power imbalance. Don't mind me, I'm just rearranging. I'm getting too much sunlight in here, and too much sunlight means that I get sunburnt, and I don't want to do that. It's not fun. So that's what I was doing with Lady of Weeds. Now, obviously, in my books, I try not to have the kind of power imbalance that you would find in a lot of K-dramas by a matter of just public perception and just internalized misogyny. I try. I don't always manage, especially in some of my earlier books, I don't manage, but in this case, I was trying hard. So that left me with a power imbalance toward Carissa's side, which was actually what I was actually going for, because obviously besides being a Nuna drama, it was also, part of the Grumpy with Sunshine, drama trope. So, the fact that she had been hurt before and that she was struggling with something, and the fact that he is so unsquashable equals out that balance again, because I try and make sure that my pairings are reasonably balanced. I don't like power imbalances. So, yeah, so Lady of Weeds you could consider a sort of mashup between the Nuna drama and the Grumpy and Sunshine drama. It also um, it also has callbacks, and the Easter eggs that are in it, most of them are relating to actually a Japanese drama. Don't watch many Japanese dramas. I find that the issues that are in K-dramas are magnified to disgusting extents in Japanese dramas, and I just literally can't sit there and watch them without wanting to punch every male character in the face, and quite a few of the female characters as well, and I don't find that relaxing. I like watching things to relax, so, yeah. But this particular one, it's called Kimi wa Peto, and I've probably talked about it before. It's about a woman who is very high in her field and who's very good at her job, and also disrespected at work because the men don't like that she's cleverer than they are and that she's a harder worker and does a better job. And instead, obviously, instead of trying harder and doing better, they just try and tear her down. But the fact that the drama actually calls that out is what makes the really huge difference. And it's really, I haven't seen anything like it in Japanese dramas, of any of the Japanese dramas I've seen, which is, of course, why I stopped watching them. In this case, this particular woman, she finds a boy in a cardboard box, like literally in a cardboard box on her front doorstep, basically. And she takes him in, and he's younger, shorter, and without a job. And I adore that because the entire force of the drama was going toward the fact that she's been so much bent out of shape and warped by the world around her and the way the world treats her for being the surpassing person that she is, that she finds it hard to connect or to love. And he, on the other hand, is used to being viewed as a thing rather than a person because he's apparently very good looking. Personally, I don't find him very good looking, but I'm aware that my tastes in men are probably a little bit different to mainstream. The face blindness affects that, um, in terms of uh, in terms of, well, if you're very good looking, it usually means your face is very uniform. I can't remember a uniform face. I can remember faces that have interesting features sometimes. So that's a thing. And so they find this basic level where he's being looked after, in terms of physical things that she's providing for him, and she's being looked after in a emotional and mental sense by him just being the cuddly little thing that he is. And because it's a trope that's flipped on its head, it's delightful and it works. And they did so much good. with that, I wanted to call back to it. Obviously, in the one that I did, it very greatly influenced, Carice and Urian's story, and so I'm really glad to have been able to put some callbacks in that, so, okay, I'm gonna go back and read some of the comments because I'm missing a lot. You guys are doing some very interesting talking. Sophia says, "I've only watched My Love from the Stars, loved it, and Train to Busan. Which K-dramas would you recommend?" Okay, I loved Train to Busan, absolutely wonderful. I'm still partway through My Love from the Star. I've been partway through it for several years, which is very bad, I know. I do enjoy it, but there's also the thing of him being the main male lead being very, dismissive and rude because he's apparently very intelligent and she's silly, but it does have that warm and cold that makes up for a lot of the deficiencies that I found there, so I did actually really enjoy that. It really also helps that she is just adorable, so it matches up quite well. So for recommendations, I definitely recommend Mask. It's got a couple of my favorite actors in it. I'm actually only partway through because it's very high angst, because horrible things are happening to the characters from the start. It's one of those marriage of convenience slash learning to trust and know your partner slash save the family or business. So I really enjoy that part of it. Also, um, what's that one called? Radiant Office. In English, it's called Radiant Office. It starts out with 3 people trying to commit suicide, which sounds like a real bummer. Um, the way it's handled is really beautiful, though, and, yeah, I really recommend it. The Ms. Temper and Nam Gung-gil, or whatever his name is, it's something very similar to that. I highly recommend. Um, Cheer Up is a lot of fun. It's one of the high school dramas. My Name was dark, but very, very good, I thought. And I'll always recommend Beating Again. It's your quintessential K-drama. It has all the tropes, but it does them well, it doesn't rely on them, and it twists some of them while having fun and at the same time having a huge deal of heart. And also, I'll always recommend Flower Boys Next Door. Ridiculous title, but I adore the entire thing. For a start, the main character is an editor. They also have a writer. They break the fourth wall often. And yeah, they just do a lot of things that are hilarious. Plus, it has another of the relationships that really inspired Lady of Weeds, which is the one between Gongdo Mi and what's his name? The main male lead anyway with the fluffy hair. He was adorable. I absolutely fell in love with him. He's one of my favorite characters to date, one of my favorite male K-drama characters. I think he's delightful. And he's got a weird little face, so I tend to remember him. Yoon Shi-yoon, his name is. So yeah, those will be top recommendations off the top of my head. There are others, but I can't remember them at the moment. Kimberly says, "You're very articulate explaining the thoughts that went into my stories." Thank you. I don't feel articulate. I've never felt articulate. This is why I'm a writer and not a speaker. But I do actually really enjoy coming and doing the lives and speaking out because I find it does do me some good. Also, it means I get to interact a little bit, which is great. um, Someone's asking, "Do you have a favorite K drama for each genre that you're talking about?" Okay, so the Flower Garden one would obviously be I think it's called You're Beautiful, the Korean version of You're Beautiful. Um, for Nuna dramas, of course, there would be Flower Boys Next Door and Kimi wa Peto. Actually, someone was asking me to spell that. Um, if I use it with the romanization, one second. Actually, I probably have it here. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Yeah, there we go. So the translated title on here sound extremely bad. Don't look up this title. It says Pet Lover, which I'm sorry, but that sounds extremely weird. The actual title, if it's romanized. Is that back to front for you guys? I will type it I'll type it into the comments anyway. Um, yeah, so this one says pet lover. That's a not a very not a very good title in English, so we'll just go with the Kimi wa Peto. I think that's a little bit safer. So yeah, company saving the company. Beating Again is a really good example of that. Um, there's also The Beautiful Kongsim, but Beating Again is actually a saving the company one, and what makes it particularly fun is the company that they're trying to save is the exact same one that the male lead for, like, the first third is actively trying to destroy, so that makes things a lot more fun. Um, what else? Yeah, and obviously in the drama stakes when it comes to, just high drama, Mask is one of the best I've ever seen or ever half seen. The stakes are hugely high, the trust is earned, and of course, I love that. I love that so much. That's one of my favorite things. Revenge dramas, yeah, My Name would probably be high on the list of revenge drama. There are others, like, there are really fun ones, but the only one I can think of straight away is one that started out really strong and then just got weird, I guess. Not even weird, it just lost its legs, and I'm pretty sure the reason it lost its legs was because people didn't like the things that they were writing, and to appease the people, they changed those things, and to my mind, that ruined the drama. It just became aimless, and I would have preferred it if they'd been able to uphold the things that they had promised and were starting to do at the start, so that was just for me, though. Emma says, "I hate it when the wrong ship sails." Me too, but the bad thing is that sometimes the female leads are such awful people that I feel like they don't deserve that they don't deserve a nice person, but in general, it's just really bad writing and an amalgamation of tropes that are popular but don't necessarily work together, so I call bad writing for that. Kimberly says, "Revenge writing when Miss Gingell rewrites an ending." Well, I'd see, the thing is I didn't I've actually had people contact me about, I think one person contacted me about Lady of Dreams and said, "Oh, you just rewrote this drama." And I'm like, "No, no, no, I didn't. I used the framework of that drama, and then I took it and I messed with it because I didn't like the way things turned out, and I made a character who was in that exact same situation go to an ending that I thought was a good ending for them." So it's yeah, so rather than rewriting anything, I took elements from a lot of things and from a lot of dramas and tossed them in a blender and then said, "Instead of going on the regular track of these, we're gonna do something else." And yeah, but yes, I think that counts as revenge writing, I think, yeah. So Emma Marie likes Startup. I haven't seen that yet. I actually have to watch that. I've been meaning to for a while. I'm not sure why I didn't. I really appreciated the stills I saw of that and some of the things where the second male lead was like, "But I did this, and she should have come to me." And they're like, "No, but she had the choice." And I really appreciated that. But for some reason, I haven't. For some reason, I actually haven't gotten around to it. I do have to do that though. I'm stuck on weightlifting fairy Kimboktu at the moment, which I was really slow on for a little while because it very much irritated me by doing the thing of we must humiliate the female lead, and it's cute and not bullying because the male lead apparently likes her, and that makes the bullying okay because obviously when you love someone, what you do is bully them. Yeah, so that slowed me down. I've been convinced by others who have watched it that that's more of an aberration and a temporary blip. And the other things they were doing with the drama were good. So I'm going to give it another chance and keep going. It's just, yeah, I got stuck on something else instead. So there's a recommendation here for Rookie Historian Kuhei. I do have to watch that. That one's actually on my to be watched list along with um, the one with Taekyon, that boy Taekyon with the ears. I like him, I usually recognize him because his ears stick out. Um, and it has the girl who's in Penthouse who, when she's playing a bad guy, you wanna punch her in the face when because she's just that good of an actress. She is obnoxious when she's a bad guy, but when she's a good guy, she's so much fun. I was just finding it too reminiscent of some older memories that I found it unpleasant to watch at the time, but it's set in the older times, which I usually avoid when it comes to Korean dramas because, yay, misogyny. And it's historically accurate. So yeah, I've been waiting for that one for a little while. Thank you for that recommendation. It is on my to be watched. I'll pop it a little bit higher. Kaylee says, I have a quick question on your writing preference. Do you enjoy books that sort of twist the normal fairy tales or books that take their own spin of fairy tales? I like both. I like it when people can do both. I like being surprised by either of those. I know that some people think that when you go too close to the fairy tale or use a fairy tale that it's just plagiarism. I've had a couple people being like, "Oh, well, it would have been better if you'd been original and written your own story." And I actually know someone who got a review um, about that, accusing her of plagiarizing the Goose Girl, and it just yeah, I don't understand that. It's a completely different style of writing. You do what you want with it. There are no new stories under the heavens. You take basic templates and you play with them. And so when people do a twist on the normal fairy tale, I find that huge fun. I also enjoy when they just take the basic elements like the ideas and the names and just do their own things. So either of those is fine with me. It's just a lot of fun. Fairy tales are fun that way to play with. You're playing with expectations, which is exactly what I like to do with my writing. Kendra asks, for the Lady series, will Jessamy show up in Lady of Ink? I actually don't know yet. Okay, so the thing with Lady of Ink that I was going to mention, because we've mentioned about Lady of Dreams and Lady of Weeds, which particular drama tropes were being played with. So with Lady of Ink, it is a save the company drama. So I've enjoyed watching those. Um, and I'm feeling like I've been wanting to write one of them for a while. And of course, because Seiri is our main protagonist, along with Carlin from Lady of Dreams, then of course we're going to be hugely heftily involved in her father's company. And we already know from Lady of Dreams that Seiri is trying to be taken seriously in her father's company. We get the impression that she is both very ruthless and very good at what she does from Lady of Dreams. Also, that she is not respected at all by the people that she is put in charge over, and also that she doesn't let that stop her from trying to do what is right and good for the company. So, on the basis of that, well, not just on the basis of that, but on the basis of that and of really enjoying the Saving the Company K dramas that I've watched, I wanted to try my hand at one of the Saving the Company dramas. So, I'll be doing that with that one. And as to whether Jessamy appears or not, I actually haven't made up my mind. Um, because I'll be traveling out of EPA and they won't and I'm hmm, yeah, I've got a basic idea of the plot, but I haven't got an entire idea of the plot. And I'm pretty certain they won't be in EPA. They might be in Scandia, but I'm also not entirely sure of that. But I do know they're doing a saving the company K-drama and all the angst that that involves. So, yeah, so we'll see. So just catching up with these comments again. Someone saying they haven't finished Lady of Dreams, have to finish it. Yeah, like I said, it's not one of my better known series, but it is one that I had a lot of fun on, and I still enjoy it. So Emma says, "Oh no, I just spoiled startup for you." Don't worry, that actually makes me happier to go into watching it. I don't mind some spoilers. And I already had got I mean, I can't go on Instagram these days without getting spoilers, and these days I'm on Instagram quite a lot. I do the mindless scroll thing, but I also put a lot of, pictures up. So, yeah, I'm on there a lot, and there are a lot of spoilers there, so trust me, you haven't spoiled anything that I didn't already either know or have guessed from what I saw on Instagram. Do I have a fairy tale remake? I'm assuming if it's a favorite fairy tale remake that you've read. Um, I don't know that I've got one favorite. Um, I think that Susanna's a friend of mine, but I also really adore reading her books. I just have to be in a healthy mental place to read them because they're quite soul-wringing in the fact that her characters are quite often very flawed and make a lot of mistakes and grow a lot. So I have to be in a good mental space to read them. And when I read them, I adore them. She rewrote the 12 Dancing Princesses as City Beyond the Glass. I adore that one. It's wonderful. Interstar Kanani's, again, she's a friend of mine. I adore her as well as her writing. And her Goose Girl is just amazing. I love it. It's one of my I always hated the Goose Girl. Like, I've literally always hated the Goose Girl. I mean, you stick a horse's head like, you chop off a horse's head, a beloved animal, and stick its head on a wall, and it still talks to you, and you have a story that I really hate. But she did it in a way that I really loved, and she managed to confront abuse in an even-handed, loving, but also very justice-hungry way, and I really appreciate that. For others, I do have others, but they're not springing to mind at the moment, so that'll have to do for a while. Kimberly says, "Less watching K-drama and more writing, please." Listening to me makes me wonder if you would enjoy writing for TV. I actually have thought about writing for TV, but the thing is, like, I would like that, and I actually have plans to write a screenplay or 2. But first of all, I need the time. Second of all, I feel like when I wrote the Between series and anything that I do in the Between series, that I'm writing in a TV manner. The exact way I write it, and it's again one of the things I learned from K-dramas that K-dramas do extremely well, is they hook your attention and they keep you there episodically. And they don't just do the episodically, they have the overarching story, sometimes to excess, and I don't like that all the time. But it taught me a great deal about writing as well. And so when I write in the City Between series, I actually feel like I'm writing for TV. I've always been very extremely interested in um, in movie making and TV making. I have no desire to be an actress. I would make a very bad actress. I just can't do it. But I love the idea of being behind the camera. So I pay attention um, to lighting, to sets, to camera angles, to action sequences, to things like that, and just learn little bits and pieces about it. And I almost always watch behind the scenes because that's my favorite thing about extras in a movie these days. So yeah. B Foreman says plagiarism of fairy tales. Lol. Think about how many times the King Arthur legend has been retold. Exactly. Like I said, there aren't any new stories out there. Everyone's basing it off a template. It's just what you do with that template. I think it's why I thrive so much with writing because there is a structure which I apparently need, but I'm allowed to rebel against the structure and using the structure to create something outside the structure, and that appeases the chaotic part of my mind. So I have structure and I have chaos, and out of both of those, I make whatever the heck I make. So yeah, that's a very important point. I think that people seem to forget that. Yeah, there are just no new ideas out there. Esther says, "I was excited to find out that Sari and Carlin would be our mains for the next book since I love them so much." I'm glad. I have to be really careful with how I do it because their starting point was quite it's not that it was problematic, but if you look at it in one way, it kind of is problematic. I mean, she did kidnap him, and yes, he went willingly as well, but also you you still kidnapped a person. So I have to do some work with that as well. I'm going to really enjoy it. I know exactly the feelings I want to get out of it and the companionship and the vibe I want. But yeah, as to plot, as usual. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I need to, um, I need to work on that a little bit. I will start wrapping things up soon because 'cause we're getting close to an hour. Um, if you have any questions, start popping them in the chat, and I'll try and get to all those before we finish up in the next 10 minutes or so. Um, I'll be starting I've got about 10,000 words into Castle and Key, the Susan story, and I really love it. For once, I've done some very light outlining. I very rarely do outlining because it usually doesn't work for me. But in this case, I did a really light form where I just got put a name for each of the chapters, as a sort of a reminder for the things I want to evoke and what I want to come out then. And that's left me free to again have a tiny bit of structure and a whole lot of chaos. And so far, it seems to be working because I've gotten 10,000 words into it, which is a tenth of the book. And I'm hoping by the end of this week that we'll be up to 20,000 words. So we're getting there. There's a particular scene. So when I wrote Mask, there was a particular scene that was in my mind. It was the first, I'm pretty sure it was the first scene that I ever wrote of that book. It was certainly the first that was in my mind. And of course, it is the scene where Lord Picus demands that Isabella come down to dinner, and she's like, "No, I'm not coming down to dinner because you're being overbearing." And she knows that he's not going to listen, so she prepares accordingly. He bursts into the room, and she's in a state of undress, which is not, terribly shocking. It was a night dress, but that I had been looking forward to writing that scene the entire time. I have a similar scene for Castle and Key, and just like the scene from Mask, it is in fact, extremely tropey, but it's something I've been wanting to do for ages and ages. Just like the knockout lipstick in Cinderella Must Die, I've wanted to put knockout lipstick in a story ever since I watched Get Smart and they had knockout lipstick. Who does not like knockout lipstick? Seriously, is there anyone who doesn't like it? Because I think it's amazing. I've always wanted to put it in a book and now I've done it. So yeah, and there is a particular thing like that, a particular scene and a particular trope I want to play with that works perfectly with the theme and the plot of Castle and Key. And so I haven't written it yet, surprisingly for me. Usually when I have a scene like this, I have to sit down and write it. I've sort of been sitting on it for later, for when I get stuck, then I can be like, wow, I know how this scene goes. And so I can just write it. So I'm going to do that. Heather says, my view of spoilers is that after a few weeks, you can't tell anyone to not talk about things. Yeah, pretty much. I subscribe to that view. Um, like I said, Instagram tends to spoil things for you on the regular. So I have to be really careful when a new episode is dropping of any particular show that may be a weekly thing that I'm watching. I tend not to watch the weekly ones because I don't like waiting. Also, I'm a very binge type person. I have impulse control. So apparently, I like to live by my unhealthy lifestyle standards. So yeah. Um, Kaylee says this comment contains spoilers for the city between book 9. Okay, so everybody be warned. Okay, in the ninth book, why did Lord Zero lock Athalas in his dungeon? He was planning on coming back to him, because by then he'd become pretty much well aware of exactly everything that Athalas had been up to. So Athalas was there waiting interrogation, I guess you could say. Interrogation and an extremely slow death. So yeah, that's why he's in the dungeon. He'd actually figured out by then that this is or at least he hadn't figured out exactly everything, but he knew that Athalas had betrayed him and had not in fact betrayed his friend, or sort of had, but had done it in order to betray Lord Zero in the end. So yeah. They also say they could imagine City Between being a movie series. Me too. I hope one day, and I hope one day if it is that I get a chance to ask for certain music to be played in it because there are some certain music choices I very much want in the series if it's ever a series. Kaylee asked, in the Athalas spin-off series, may I ask what Athalas's love interest personality will be like? I can't tell you too much about that, because it will spoil one or two important things, I think. So for now, I'm gonna keep fairly well under wraps what her particular personality is, but you can be pretty sure that she'll have a steel core. So that's about as far as I can tell you, because if I tell you too much about her, it will spoil a couple of other things that are very closely linked to her, her personality, her story, and I don't want to do that. I have a particular thing I'm trying to do, and I want to do it successfully so that there will be some people who work it out and others who are taken completely by surprise, and that will make me very happy. Sarah Knowlton suggests that the poor blokes getting knocked out by knockout lipstick won't like it much. This is true. It's a particularly feminine joy, I'm pretty sure. I am under the impression though that unless the person is actively trying to knock you out, if you try and kiss someone and they're not prepared for it, you deserve to be knocked out. So with that caveat, yes, yes, I would agree that the poor blokes being knocked out don't like knockout lipstick. It's probably a good thing it doesn't actually exist. But also, again, I've always wanted to put it in a book. I'm so glad I had the opportunity. Kaylee says they absolutely love Cinderella Must Die. Will it be a series? Not exactly a series. Like the Two Monarchies world, where we've got Wolfskin that's not actually connected to the main series, and where Mask and Castle and Key are separated from the storyline, like the circular storyline of the main series. There will be others in that world. So Gothel and the Maiden Prince is set in the exact same world. In fact, if you read very carefully, you will find a very slight oblique reference to Lucian in there. So if you're reading it again and you come across that, you'll now that I've mentioned it, you'll probably notice it in there. Um, because yeah, he's mentioned not by name, but as a person in there, and I tried to make it a little bit obvious so that you'd have a little Easter egg there. Set in the same world, there'll be other stories. Actually, the next one that's coming in that one that will still be about 3 years out is called Snow White is a Zombie, and it will be set in that exact same world, with our main character being the evil queen. So, we'll see how we go with that. Were you reading the book on C.S. Lewis for help in writing the new series with Athalis? No. No, I was reading that because I'm, in general, interested in C.S. Lewis. He's been one of my favorite writers for, oh, quite some time. But the thing with me is, with my favorite authors, I don't necessarily need to find out about them and their lives, because I find that, to me, I find out about them, the important part of them, which is their mind and how it works, from what they write. So in general, I don't seek out other information, biographies, autobiographies, that sort of thing. But I learned some things about his life, that obviously he was a Christian and I'm a Christian, so that of course was already an interest to me. But I learned some other things about him that made me actually curious about his life, and so I started doing some um not exactly research, just finding out about him, and by extension his wife in later life, Joy Davidson. And now I'm reading up about her in a biography called And Then God Came In. But I've read The Lenten Lands, and which was by Douglas Gresham, of course. And then I'll be on to And Then God Came In, which is about Joy in particular. So after that, I'll probably go on to Surprised by Joy, which is C.S. Lewis's own take, I guess, on their relationship. And yeah, that particularly interests me. Emma says, I hadn't considered Atlas having a love interest. This is awesome. Please have her knock him out with knockout lipstick. I have a feeling that Atlas always suspects knockout lipstick. I'm pretty sure that's a part of his character. Even if he's not aware it exists, I'm pretty sure he would always suspect knockout lipstick. So I don't think I'll be able to do that to him. He has other blind spots, and I'll have to work on those ones, I think. Emma asked, "Did I know that Lewis and Tolkien once went to a non-costume party dressed as polar bears?" I did not. That does not surprise me at all. It makes me very happy though. So, B Former says I've read Snow White as a vampire. So have I. It was very interesting. As a zombie works too. Hopefully, won't be as horrific. I mean, zombies eat brains though, so maybe. I actually don't know how horrific it's going to be. Um, You guys know that I don't seem to be able to write books without bodies just showing up. So who knows? I'll try not to worry people about my state of mind too much. Okay, I'm gonna start wrapping it up now, guys. We've been going for an hour. Thank you so much for coming out. It was nice being able to just blurt out my thoughts and ideas about K-dramas. And don't be dissuaded from watching K-dramas by the bad things I've had to say, because honestly, yes, there are a lot of bad K-dramas and they have a lot of really bad and damaging tropes, but it's not the entirety of K-dramas. Some are very, very good, and even in the worst ones that have the grossest misogynistic tendencies, there are usually also good things. So if your blood pressure can stand the acute misogyny in some of them, there are also good things to be had. There's also stuff to be learned, and you're also learning a bit about a different culture. So it's not that they're all bad. It's not that you shouldn't watch them. And even in the worst ones, there will be little bits of sparkling gold. You would just have to watch your blood pressure for the worst ones and try and eke those out with some good ones in between, I find helps. So yeah, don't be dissuaded from watching them. They're worth watching. They're worth getting to know as a genre. Um, it's worth getting to know different tropes and learning different cultural mores. So yeah, don't be dissuaded. Check them out. See what you think yourself, because some of you guys are obviously of a different mindset to me. What comes across as misogyny to me will just be normal gender roles to some of you guys. So just, make up your own minds, have some fun with it. Just be careful if you're going into Korean movies, because some of those can be incredibly explicit, like really quickly, unlike K dramas, which are usually very light in terms of content of a sexual nature, and also less violence in the movies. They tend to jump straight to R ratings without necessarily mentioning it. So you could find either just really bad sexual assault, or just regular sexual contact, or just really bad torture. And I'm not good with torture. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Right, we're going through the comments one last time. Sophia says, "Thank you for sharing." Thanks for coming out. Um, I'll leave the city between questions for next time, just so I can show. Sarah says, "Body showing up is a perfectly normal problem." Thank you. I'm glad to know that. Kelly's saying, "Thanks for going live, B Foreman. Thank you. Always enjoy your chats. Thanks, guys. I will see you next time."